Namaste to all. We will start very soon. ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेमदेवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. There is an Upanishad called Muktika Upanishad. Muktikopanishad. This is a very interesting Upanishad because it is a conversation, a dialogue between Lord Rama and Hanumanji. And it is where Lord Rama is telling Hanumanji what are the Upanishads that should be studied. The list of Upanishads to be studied is being given, is being discussed between Hanumanji and Lord Rama. Very nice, interesting Upanishad. And there in the 26th verse of the first chapter of the Muktika Upanishad, where all this list is made of the various uniqueness of the different kinds of Upanishads that are there, there is one Vakya. Mumukshunam vimuktaye Mandukyame ekam eva alam. Alam means enough. So mumukshunam vimuktaye, for the liberation of all Tivra mumukshus, means people who are sincere seekers, the Mandukya Upanishad alone is enough. Mumukshunam vimuktaye Mandukyam ekam, Mandukyam alone, eva alam. Only Mandukya is enough. Nothing else is needed. Nothing else is wanted. Actually any one Upanishad is enough. Any Upanishad is enough. But this is for the sake of prashamsa. Prashamsa means eulogy. So actually one Upanishad is praising another Upanishad, which is appropriate actually, because who else can praise the Upanishad. So one Upanishad is praising the other Upanishad. So this is very, very nice, very famous Vakya, very famous sentence that says that for the liberation of a serious seeker, for the liberation of seekers, the study of Mandukya alone is enough. If one Upanishad like the Mandukya is studied very well, nothing else is needed. And this is high praise, correct? And this kind of a praise is there there is a tendency to praise the texts in the Shastra. And like even for the Bhagavad Gita, Gita Sugita Kartavya, the Gita must be studied very, very well. Kim manyaihi shastra vistaraihi, of what use are all these other things? I don't know, says the writer. Shastra vistaraihi means all this compendium of granthas, shastras, prakarana granthas, Upanishads, and all kinds of the whole compendium of the works of Vedanta. What are they doing here on the bookshelf? Give them away, recycle them. The Gita alone is enough, So then this is definitely a hyperbole. How can you praise something like this and then you take away Brahma Sutras, you take away Upanishads, and Gita alone should be studied and it is enough? And then that is in the Gita shloka. And then here the Mandukya Upanishad is praised to the skies over and above all the other Upanishads. And and then the next line in that very verse says, if the Mandukya is not understood, then please go and study some other Upanishads. So this is like a big, throwing a shade, as they say in the modern language, over all the other Upanishads and saying just catch hold of Mandukya, that's all you need. And supposing you don't have the mindset to study the Mandukya, then you can go and start with some other Upanishad. So this kind of a exaggeration, what is its purpose? Why is it there, and what does it tell us? Does it mean that the Muktika Upanishad is telling a lie with this big hyperbole that mumukshunam vimuktaye mandukyam evalam? It's not even really true, ultimately speaking, because any Upanishad, as I told you in the earlier class, in the yesterday's class, that any Upanishad is enough to free. It has everything. It will have upasanas, it will have a dialogue. Upasanas means meditations of various kinds. It will have a dialogue between known students that have names like Nachiketa, and a known teacher like Lord Yama, or unknown students and unknown teachers as in the Kena Upanishad or the Taittiriya Upanishad, even the Mandukya Upanishad. It will have dialogue, it will have Mahavakya. Every Upanishad is not an Upanishad without the sentence that equates the Jiva with Ishvara. It will have Mahavakya, it will have everything. And if you study that, of course you will be free. That is the whole reason why we are doing this week after week, day after day. This is why we are here. So then, is it a lie? Is it that the Muktika Upanishad is just basically, making some kind of an exaggerated statement? Well, not really, because the Upanishad, being non-separate from the subject matter that it unfolds, which is Brahman, which is the truth of oneself, which is that limitless truth of the self which it unfolds, and Brahman being infinite. So you can praise the infinite infinitely and you will not be a liar. Same thing with the Bhagavad Gita. So, it's just like, you have Sahasranama for Bhagavan. Sahasranama means 1,000 names. And like Vishnu Sahasranama. And, you are the Lord of the past. You are the Lord of the present. You are the Lord of the future. You are this, you are that. Everything you can pray. You praise Bhagavan to the skies. Bhagavan doesn't have a swollen head. Why? Why doesn't Bhagavan have a swollen head? Because it's the infinite. The infinite can be praised infinitely. So this is one reason why the Muktika Upanishad, or the verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says that the Gita should be well studied, they are not wrong, because they are praising the infinite. And the infinite is, the subject matter is infinite, and since the subject matter is infinite, it can be taught in infinite number of ways. The methodologies are infinite. Infinite is the subject matter, infinite are the methodologies, infinite are the ways of communicating, and infinite can be also the praise. Which leads us to the second point. Why do we need to praise the Upanishad? Is it going to, sit and have a complex on itself? If it's not praised, it's going to feel bad. Oh, I'm not being praised. Nobody is studying me. Who is the praise for? What is the praise for? What purpose is the praise accomplishing? The praise is not for the Upanishad really. When the Upanishad is praised, when Vedanta is praised, it is for you. It is not for Vedanta. Why is it for you? Because it is just, like I said earlier, supply and demand. So that's how modern economics thrives on this kind of capitalist economics, thrives on creating first a demand before putting the supply. Unfortunately, it's the same with vaccines also now. There is always a shortage in America. Because, that same vritti, that mental, thinking is there, that you have to create the demand and then everybody will want it. And then you slowly trickle in the supply and then you charge double because by this time you have created a hype for it. Where did you think they learnt it from? They learnt it from Adi Shankara's Bhashya. They learnt it from the Muktika Upanishad. They learnt it from whoever composed that verse, Gita so Gita kartavya kim anyaihi shastra vistaraihi. This is all ancient stuff. This is all BC stuff. This is, Shrotra buddhi prarojanartham. So this is Adi Shankara says blatantly in the introduction to the Mundaka Upanishad Bhashya, Upodghata Bhashya of the Mundaka Upanishad. Adi Shankara says, in order to excite the buddhi, the palate of the people, to excite the palate of the people. So that is to excite the palate of the people. How do you excite the palate of the people? You excite the palate of the people by praising the Upanishad. And when the Upanishad is praised, Kim tad Brahma, the subject matter of the Upanishad starts to look very nice. What is this Brahman? How do I get there? I want this Upanishad. Oh, only Mandukya alone is going to give me this freedom from what? Being a flawed Sam in Samsara. We talked about that earlier. So it's going to give me freedom. Yes, I want it. Me, who is in line? Me. This is what the whole thing is. So because the human mind, kind of a jada buddhi means may as well be insentient, because it keeps on going for it's not understanding. This buddhi is not understanding the main thing. And what is the main thing? That one is not separated from the infinite by way of time or space. One is separated from the truth of oneself. That one is whole and limitless because of self-ignorance. This fact not being understood, then the pursuit of the Upanishad, which is the pursuit of the self, becomes yet one more thing to accomplish. I want to become this, I want to become that, then I want to become an expert in the Upanishad. I have Kathopanishad under my belt, I have this, I have that, and then now I have Mandukya Upanishad under the belt. So it all becomes some kind of an accomplishment. And so this is the buddhi that is looking at the Upanishad, still raw, still not completely, it has not sort of got off the ghee from the, it's still high from the yajnas that this buddhi has been performing. Buddhi means brain, intellect. So this buddhi is just still high of the fumes of the yajna, and then still not understanding, and says, I don't have time for this, I really don't have time for Brahman. Well, all you have to do is study one Upanishad. Oh really? Okay, I think I can manage that one. Which one? Well, I'll make it easy for you. Study the Mandukya and you will be free. Okay, sign me up. When is it going to be taught? Just now, this retreat, next few days. Oh, okay, I'm in. This is what the whole thing is. And the Mundaka Upanishad also starts with some very, very kind of big praise of the Shastra, by saying Brahmaji gives this knowledge to his eldest son, his dearest son Atharva, and then Atharva gives it to Angiras, Angiras gives it to Angir, and then then Shaunaka, like this the whole, then in between there is Satyavaha, and then of the Bharadvaja Gotra, and then Shaunaka and Angiras dialogue. So like this the whole lineage is established, and the preciousness of this knowledge is very much put there. So this is what is the Mandukya. The Mandukya is not an ordinary Upanishad, and point number 3 is that praise is actually very, very warranted, because it's unlike any other Upanishad, and of course each Upanishad is unique, and there are some very interesting things about the Mandukya Upanishad that we need to know before we embark on the mantra that is at hand. In fact, that mantra being one of the concluding mantra, we need to put a little, we need to have a solid background into this Upanishad of what the subject matter is, etc. So the Mandukya Upanishad, one of the unique things is that it's a very, very short Upanishad. It's not page after page of dialogue between baby Nachiketa and Lord Yama. That also is very exciting, because what did Nachiketa do? Oh, he said no again to this boon. Oh, then what is he going to do now? What is Yama going to say? There is some akanksha there. There is some expectation, some desire to understand. So Gana, there is no pages and pages here. And it's not like the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. Huge, 100 pages. No. It is short, very short. And it is one of the shortest Upanishads you will find. And it is unique because it packs everything. It packs the whole world of, the Jiva's life, the Jagat, Ishvara, and the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara. Everything is there. There is nothing that is not there in that short, few mantras. Then the second reason why it is famous and why it is unique and why it needs to be studied is that it's the only Upanishad where the grand guru of Adi Shankara, whose name is Gaudapadacharya, Govindapada was the teacher of Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara's teacher's teacher, his name was Gaudapadacharya, and he has written a commentary in verse for the Upanishad, 215 verse commentary, and that is called Karika. Karika is a commentary in verse, and there is a lot of leeway in composing a Karika. Like, we have Vartika of Sureshwaracharya for the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In fact, he wrote Vartika, and that's why he's called Vartikakara. So the Vartika is actually, there are certain, there are certain rules for composing the Vartika. Uktanukta duruktanam chintayatra pravartate tam grantham vartikam prahuhu vartikagño vichakshanaha. So then, the Vartika is charged with certain duties. If you are writing a Vartika, it should explain what has been said in the Upanishad or the main text. It should say what is in doubt, what is not explained, not that the Upanishad won't explain properly, but what is left unsaid, and what may be a source of misinterpretation. All this it has to clarify and inquire into, and that is Vartika. And then Sutra also has a definition. So if you are writing a Sutra, oh my God, that's a tall order. Sutra also means what? It should be alakṣaṇam. It should have the fewest possible words. Asandigdham. Yet it cannot be gobbledygook. Gobbledygook is just one word. But can it be a sutra? No, because it should be asandigdham. It should be so clear, and there should not be any doubt about what it is meaning. Saravat vishvato mukham, it should be applicable in more than one situation, and it should be meaningful. It should be pertinent to what you are setting forth. All this, sutra, it's got a tall order to compose a sutra. But Karika, there is a lot of leeway. You can comment on the main text, you can go beyond the main text, which is what Gaudapadacharya does here, and you can do a lot of things. There is not much of a strictures about how the Karika should be written. So 215 verses, 4 padas or chapters, and not, on purpose he writes 4 padas, because the Mandukya as a salute, to the Mandukya Upanishad, which presents the ātmā from the standpoint of 4 from 4 standpoints, 4 ways of looking at the ātmā. And this brings us to the next point. The next point is that there is a very interesting prakriya. prakriya is a pedagogical tool because of which the vision is unfolded systematically. And we have at our behest, in our, in our grasp, in the teaching tradition of Advaita Vedanta, numerous prakriyas, numerous pedagogical tools, methodologies, whatever you want to call them. And there some of them, are very basic. Karana karya prakriya, cause effect methodology. This is something which everybody knows. So, karyam, effect, karanat, from the cause, ananyat, non-separate. Non-separate is the effect from the cause. The cause is non-separate from the effect. And so therefore what? So therefore this is, this is something which is wonderful to see. The effect is non-separate from the cause. And then, so there is only one thing, and that thing is neither cause nor effect. This is what is called cause-effect prakriya. Very, very, very important prakriya. And in fact, for Advaita Siddhi, this Karana Karya Prakriya has to be used. Even in the Mandukya Upanishad, you will see it being used. We will talk about that. Then, another prakriya, another methodology, just bear with me. We'll come back to the Mandukya Upanishad. This is just we are kind of grazing in the lawn of the Upanishad itself. Like what should I say? Eager cattle, jignasus. So then we find that there is one more methodology, a famous methodology that is touted in the Taittiriya Upanishad and also to a certain extent in the Chandogya Upanishad. And what is that? The Pañcakosha Prakriya. And then of course it is translated as methodology of the 5 coverings, 5 sheets. Annamaya, pranamaya, vijñānamaya, ānandamaya, manomaya, vijñānamaya, ānandamaya. And this is again a very, very important methodology through which what is established is that the I is mistaken to be as good as the body. The wrong identification with the body creates a locus of error, and that locus of error, that place where that error is made, is called maya, annamaya, annavikara. Annamaya means it's not that I confuse myself to be what I eat, idlis and dosas. No, that's not what is pointed out here. Annamaya means that this body is as good as I, because the I seems to be located, again within quotes, the I seems to be located in this body, and therefore there is a mistaken identification with the body, with the mind, with the senses. So annavikara, annavikaram, this shariram is just the whole thing is so beautifully presented. All the errors are reckoned. But first you are told, that these 5 elements has come from this I. Tasmad va etasmad atmana akashas sambhutah akashad vayuh vayoragnihi agnerapah. Like this. So the 5 elements have come from the ātmā alone, and then that includes the earth, and what grows on the earth? Trees, food, and the food is, from the food has come this body. The food that your parents ate is responsible for your body. This is the genetics of this all. And so this food is the body, which becomes a place where the I is mistaken to be as good as the body. Because you see, in Vedanta the mistake is all one way. Body is I, of course, because the I is not outside of anything. I includes everything. But then I is not the body. And then moving on, moving up, what do we say? Then the prana, that is another place where that identification takes place. If one is not able to breathe even for a small, minuscule of a second, one starts to hyperventilate, one starts to get agitated because one feels like, we cannot live, one cannot survive without breathing. So here there is a subtle, connection to the prana. Prana is I, no doubt, but I am not just the prana. Prana is included in the I, but the I goes beyond the prana. It is all pervasive, limitless. So prana becomes another pitfall, a trap where the I is mistaken to be all the subtle pranic functions, starting with respiration, etc. Then manomaya, in the I is as good as the vacillating mind. Vijñānamaya, the I is as good as an agent of action. Anandamaya, the I is as good as the recipient of action, bhokta. So everywhere the I is very much present. All these places are definitely where the I is present, because without the presence of that I, that state of the body cannot be without the I, the mind cannot be without the I. All these depend on the I, but the I is independent of all of them. The I is the witness of all of them. The I can objectify all of them. None of them are sentient. I alone is the source of sentient. The self alone is the source of sentient. This is a brilliant prakriya that is there in the Chandogya Upanishad, in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Very brilliant. It is to isolate the I and to disentangle the I from all the other things it could have just gone and mistaken itself to be. This is a very wonderful methodology. And the Mandukya Upanishad is likewise known for another very, very important methodology, a unique methodology called avasthatraya prakriya. Avastha means, state, a condition. Traya, three states of being. And what are the three states? This everybody knows. Sleeping, hopefully not during the class, waking, and then what else? Dreaming. And this is where the short Upanishad, in its small, precise ways, does something which is really brilliant, impossible. That's why we say it is apaurushaya, impossible to be accomplished by the human mind, really, because of how brilliantly it puts forth the truth of these three states. First of all, the choice of these three states are it's just wonderful, because it is universally experienced. Nobody can say, no one on earth can say, I don't experience sleep. Even the one who has insomnia will be sleeping once in a while. So sleep is common. Just like everything, just like samsara is common. And then so the experiences in this samsara, like the sleep, like the dream, and like the waking state, this is what is there. Samsara is common to everybody, and so these three states are, what should I say, more intimately felt than the samsara because this is something so unique to the experience of the I. In fact, the I is specifically experienced through the three states in a way that even sorrow and the alternating joy, sorrow, etc. is not so closely experienced as these three states. This is another very, very, very unique aspect of the Mandukya Upanishad. Because in unfolding the truth of these states, one starts to understand the truth of oneself as neither the waker, nor the sleeper, nor the dreamer. All three I am, and in order to be all three, the I cannot be any one of them. This is what is called avasthatraya prakriya. Now we have to be careful in understanding how these prakriyas have to be unfolded. How to handle the prakriya itself is a very, very important topic in the Upanishad. Because in imparting the knowledge, the Upanishad also gives us cues on handling the methodology along with the vision itself. I mean, there'll be many kinds of people who are interested in the state of sleep. Like, for example, sleep doctors. There are such things. There are such people called sleep doctors. And then you go to them and then they hook you up and then they say, okay, you go to sleep. You can't even sleep in front of them. You go to a facility. This was all pre-COVID, okay? Yeah. And so you go to a facility and then you sleep there. And what is their job? They watch you sleep. And then you are hooked up, your blood pressure is being taken regularly and all kinds of other things, electrodes, etc. I don't know what else they do. I met one sleep specialist. There was actually a couple, you know. And then they read the data. And then when you wake up, they tell you why you're not sleeping very well. Your dream, your dream life is as good as non-existent. And in fact, that the few seconds of the REM state, the dream state, is very, very important for the quality of sleep experienced. This is why the sleep specialist studies sleep. And then, if you go, so their tatparya, their purpose for studying the sleep is to help the people and also to make their own living, watching people sleep. That's a very interesting prarabdha. You keep watching the people sleep all the time. And so that is their commitment, tatparya, commitment. Similarly, there are all these dream experts. They can decode the dream. This is all Jungian psychologists. So Jungian psychologists will consider, as Carl Jung said, every dream is an unopened letter. Unopened and unopenable also, because you have no clue what it says, what it meant to say. And so you go to one of these Jungian experts, and the Jungian expert will say, aha, well, I went through the doorway in the dream. Well, wait, hang on, he or she will say, what does the door mean in the waking state? Was the door open? Was it shut? Well, it was ajar. It was ajar. It was slightly open. aha, they will take notes, they will look at all the symbolisms, and then they'll come with some interpretation which has nothing to do with either the door or the jar. A jar, okay, yeah. So it has nothing to do with the door. That was a jar. How the door became a jar, we don't know, but anyhow, but this is, it has nothing to do with that. You seem to have hesitancy in your life. This is the conclusion. What do you mean I'm hesitant? How did you come there? Well, if you study like me, you will know how I arrived at this conclusion, but very briefly, this is how it is. They will give some explanation. So you see, the tatparya for the Jungian psychologists, or their brothers and sisters in that family, is very different for studying the dream state, and the tatparya for the commitment for the sleepologist or the sleep specialist is very different. Everybody has different reasons to study the dreaming, waking and sleep states. But the Upanishad here is not interested in the symbolism of your dream or in how well you slept at night. She could care less. That is not the Tatparya. And the Tatparya Nishchaya, the ascertainment of where the Upanishad is leading through the unfoldment of this methodology of the three states of being that are universally and intimately experienced, has to be ascertained at first before unpacking the importance of these states. This has to be done, otherwise one will go astray. One will start getting interested in dream symbology, or in some kind of how to sleep better, or what is the sleep, where do I go when I sleep, all these things. The Upanishad is least bothered about that. Then what is the commitment of the Upanishad? The commitment of the Upanishad here is to show that which is invariable in all the three states. And what is that which is invariable? You. It is you that is invariable. You are there. When you wake up, what do you say? I'm awake. Ding ding. I'm up. I'm awake. Meaning what? I have entered the waking state. Please do address me. My name now is the waker. Address me as the waker. I'm now awake. You see? So this is what is the thing. The I is very much connected to the waking state. And in the waking state, what does the I do? The I goes about its day. First it wakes up in a frenzy. Oh no, what day is it? Oh no, what do I have to do? Lots to do, lots to accomplish. And not enough time. Better get going. This is the frenzied waker. It sounds very familiar. Everybody has been there. And then what? And then when you wake up, if somebody in the household asks you, how did you sleep? Were you there in sleep? Yes. Why? Because when I woke up, I was asked, how did you sleep? And I say, very well, thank you. If you were not there in sleep, how do you know you slept very well? This is the question the Upanishad is going to ask. If you were not there, how do you know? That means you were there, but then your name was called and you never woke up, and a big crash, a tree crashed outside the window, it never woke you up. So many things happened while you slept, and yet you say, I was there in sleep. Yes, you were there in sleep, but you were not able to advertise it. You were very much there in sleep, but you were not able to advertise it. Why? Because in sleep the whole buddhi and the whatever, all the facilities like the mind and the buddhi which advertise one's impressions, speech, etc., all of them go into what is called a causal state. In other words, they become one with the cause of the universe, Ishvara. This is what the whole thing is. So, sleep, you are very much there. That's why you are able to say, I slept very well, thank you. I slept so well. And what is the state of sleep best known for? The state of sleep is best known for not knowing anything. What do you know in sleep? Nothing. I slept so well. Oh, but I came to your room. Well, I didn't know anything. The big tree crashed outside the window. I didn't know anything. It rained cats and dogs when you slept. I didn't know anything. And in that not knowing, there is great ananda, which is why I suppose led some people to prophesize ignorance is bliss. So in that not knowing means what? Not knowing anything specific. I tickled you in your sleep. You didn't wake up. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you tickled me. I didn't know that it rained a lot, that there was a thunderstorm. I slept through it. I didn't know that a tree broke a big branch and it fell outside my window. I didn't know anything specific. But I knew I am in general. But the antennae to broadcast the I am in the form of the buddhi, the mind, had all retreated into the causal state. And so therefore I was not able to say I am asleep. You can never answer. You can never be truthful and say, are you asleep? You cannot say yes and still tell the truth to this question. Similarly, if you are awake and somebody asks you, are you here? You cannot say no. You have to say yes. Again, that establishes, the point of this prakriya, the point of this methodology is not to establish the I. We are not interested in establishing the I because the I happens to be self-evident. But we are establishing that the I undergoes various changing states, because that is what is the meaning of the word avastha. It may undergo various changes in the states without itself being transformed into the waker, into the dreamer, into the sleeper. It as though undergoes changes without really being undergoing any transformation whatsoever. A very brilliant prakriya. And again, like I said, its commitment is to reveal the unchanging, invariable I that is not affected by sleep, that is not tarnished by the waking state. And it is not, what's the word for it, it is not carried away in the dream state. This is the I, the invariable, infinite presence that is, a source of universal experience. These three things, very, very brilliant. And this is the crux of what the Upanishad, focuses on. And one more unique thing about this, and we'll be examining some of these things in detail. One more unique thing about this Upanishad is that along with the waking state, the sleep state, the dream state, all these states of existence, what does the Upanishad do? The Upanishad shows something which is very, very important. It shows that the waker, the individual waker, upon whom this methodology is centered, is not waking up in a vacuum. When you wake up, yawn and stretch, you are already relating to the macro counterpart. The micro waking experience is already connected to the macro world that is in the process of being. In the process of being. Being what? Being manifest, of course. And that manifestation includes your free will. It is a manifestation that is as yet being, present continuous, which includes your own free will. Because you may stretch, wake up and say, off I go to have my tea. No, it's cold outside. I think I'll have coffee instead because I need something strong. And your individual waking experience includes the vacillation, sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha, so includes your vacillating mind, includes your buddhi that finally decides on coffee, for example, includes your action of going and making the coffee. And then what? Includes the karma phala, the result of the action of having the coffee, where you are getting the jitters because you are not accustomed to drinking it. All this is included. Now even though those experiences may be unique to you, you are already creating flutters in the waking world. And when we talk about the waking world, it is Ishvara Srishti. You see, Karya Karana Prakriya has already walked in. It is walking on the, along in tandem, cha-cha-cha. It is doing a two-step along with the Avasthatraya Prakriya. Very, very nice. So, Karya Karana Prakriya here is that, so then if I am waking up, and my choices and my free will is included in the samashti, in the macro free will, then is it really truly free? If my expression is included in Ishvara's expression of the Jagat, then is my expression free? Well, relatively speaking, yes. There is a certain freedom, but then that freedom is already established. That freedom is given. That freedom is already written into the manifestation. A manifestation that is continually being manifest. As you go about your day, you are interacting with Ishvara Srishti, Ishvara's world. Sometimes there is a collision because you don't know how to go in tandem with it because of your own raga dveshas. You collide with Ishvara's world. Your own world collides with Ishvara's world. What is that game? You go to an amusement park and there are these little cars and then they bang against one another. So this kind of looks like that. So you are dashing against bumper cars. That's what it is. Some kind of bumper car experience. And there is one bada car, one big car, and then what? That is Ishvara car. And then the other cars are smaller cars. They are just like your cars. And then you just go and bang against them and clash against them because it's all in a small space. your raga dvesha are having a heyday, your preferences and prejudices, it seems like you're stepping on everybody's toes, and a big pair of toes, Ishvara's toes, crashing into, it's like and of course, the example is borrowed from an amusement park on purpose, because if you know this, it is amusing. If you don't know this, you yourself feel bekar, means useless, idiotic, finite. Oh no. So the agent of action here, as the waker, is constantly connected to, related to, entangling with Ishvara Srishti, Ishvara's projection, Ishvara's manifestation, including the jiva's projection, in other words, the jiva's distortion called the waking state, where in the waking state the person, the individual, is both a karta. Karta means what? An actor, an agent of action, and a bhokta. Bhokta means the recipient of the result of actions, because nobody is foolish enough to engage in action without wanting the results, and so for the sake of the result one engages in action, and so one is always result oriented. Bhogaya karma, bhogaya karma kurute. So the person does the action for the sake of the result of action. And the Gita may shout from the rooftops, Lord Krishna may shout from, from wherever he is in Vaikuntha, and say, Karmani eva adhikarahate ma phaleshu kadachana. He may shout from the rooftops, but it doesn't go in. The waker is a stubborn waker. And that's why the waking state shines as a, what's the word for it? As the most beloved state. Because one is an actor, one can say, I am an actor. And why does that matter? I told you, because I produce the result of actions, and there is nothing sweet as reaping what one has just sown. There is something wonderful about that. You cook and then you eat, and then you act in the world, and then you wait for the results. There's nothing more wonderful about anticipating the results and wanting those results to manifest. And then so the waking state is a place of allurement and a place of double delusion. I am the agent of action, and I am the recipient of the results of action. So the I here is caught, doubly caught, double dose of samsara. Whereas, there in the sleep state, one is neither an actor. What do? You don't do anything in sleep. No, but I kicked the person sleeping next to me. Well, did you know you do that? Did you know that you did that? No. So that means you didn't do that really, because what kind of an action is there without free will? An action is an action when the free will, when a choice is involved. The donkey also kicked. You also kicked in sleep. It's the same. Both of you are not culpable. Okay, and so this is something which is wonderful to see and wonderful to understand. And then, so in the sleep state, one is neither a karta, nor is one a bhokta of anything in particular, but one is the bhokta of the sleep experience. In hindsight, one recognizes that one is the bhokta. So there is only ananda in sleep, there is only bhoga in sleep. But one is not a bhoga, one is not doing active bhoga of something one has just produced, some action that one has authored. What about the dream? In the dream state also likewise, one is not a karta. That's why if you strangle somebody in the dream, let us say, you don't wake up and turn yourself in. I did this, I stole something in the dream, I hit somebody in the dream. Officer, please arrest me. You are not culpable. It's only a bhoga sharira. You just are a bhokta. And so therefore, it is easy, without Vedanta, it is easy to falsify the sleep state because of the partial manifestation of one's prowesses. As if one's prowesses is the agent of action and the recipient of the result of action, and then so here it's just the result of action that are being harvested. Karma phala is harvested in sleep. So if you're sleeping well, it is your own good karma. And then again in dream, it is bhoga alone. And only in the waking state that one has kartrutvam karta, one is an actor, one has doership in the waking state alone. And that is why the waking state is very, very difficult to shake off as the truth of oneself, and it is a very, very big pitfall. Which is why that is why the states are not analyzed by themselves. The states are related to their counterpart. The states are related to their macro counterparts. Like I just illustrated very briefly, in the waking state, the waker wakes up to a world that is in the process of being manifest, which includes your choices, which includes your denial, which includes the exercise of your free will, which includes how you are going to go about your day, and all that comprises the waking state. And the waking state includes the cause, not only the individual waker, but the samashti, the collective, the cause of the waking state, the manifest jagat, along with the manifester Ishvara. Very beautiful. So in the waking state, in the individual waking state, what is invariable? You as the waker are invariable. In the samashti waking state, in the waking world into which you awaken, what is invariable? Ishvara, which is manifest as the Jagat, is invariable. Very interesting. So then there are two invariables? No. And this is the final unique point about the Mandukya Upanishad. That is why it begins with a big bang. It begins with the Mahavakya. Om idagum sarvam. All that is here is only one thing. And what is that one thing? Let us call it Om. Oh, really? That's what we are going to call it? Yes, that's what we are going to call it. Let us call it Om. Idagum sarvam. And we know this, we have been studying Vedanta for some time now, and we know idam sarvam. When it says, what does it mean? Everything. Isha vasyam idam sarvam. Purusha eva idagum sarvam in Purusha Sukta. Yat bhutam yatcha bhavyam. Same thing here. Om idagum sarvam. Idam sarvam. Idam means idantaya yadyad grihyate. Tat idam, that which is known by the word this cognition. Idam. Idantaya grihyate iti idam. This cognition, this glass of water, this computer, these faces on the screen, this room, this light, this body, this mind, you can go all the way, these senses, this sleeping experience, this waking experience, this dreaming experience, another experience, all these things. This, anything that you refer to by the word this is the Jagat. Anything that is objectifiable by the means of knowledge that have been given to you to objectify all the things in the Jagat, idam sarvam, idam, 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 idam. Idam sarvam, all that can be used by, all that can be cognized by the use of the word this, meaning it is graspable. What about the one who says idam sarvam cannot be, is not an object of cognition? There is a reality difference. There is a different order of reality between the cognizer and the cognized. Cognized, object of cognition, cognizer, not able to be cognized as an object. Neither cognized, but can only be recognized as the truth of everything. The cognizer is not subject to the 5 means of knowledge. And what are those 5 means of knowledge? We touched upon it in the last class, but very briefly just to go over them. First is the 5 immediate ways of knowing, the sense organs. Pratyaksha pramanani, eyes, ears, etc., sight, sound, all these that cognize the sight, sound, etc., the 5 senses. Then we have in the Shastra an inference, a simple inference. You wake up, the roads are wet, and what do you say? Oh, it must have rained. Did you see it raining? No. But then, how do you know? I just see, what I see are the wet roads, and then I know from memory, I know from, through inference. I infer. What do I infer? I infer that it must have rained, even though I did not see it raining. So this is a basic simple inference. And then we have more complex inferences, 2-step inference, multi-step inference, all these things. We have complex inferences. And what are complex inferences? Complex inferences such as the kind of steps that have gone into making the COVID vaccine. So many steps. How long the antibodies are there, how the antibodies are generated, will it work on various mutations, how many mutations will it work on, all these things at super fast speed. What could have taken a decade, they have done it in 1 year. It's amazing. The mind of the scientist is just amazing. And so that is multi-step inference. That is one more means of knowledge called arthapatti. Simple inference is just called anumana. Then we have another way of knowing through likeness or simile, upama. Simile. We can say that the something, we can say that the bison is like a buffalo, but with some differences. And so if you've never seen a bison, but you know what a buffalo is like, when you meet a bison, you know what it is, even though you're seeing it for the first time. This is upama. And then what? And then we have one more, the cognition of absence. This is not, going into Buddhist territory. It's not cognition of what might be called absolute absence. There is no such thing called absolute absence, because your own presence is there very much to cognize the absence. These are these chota mota cognitions, small cognitions of something where, the keys are not there in my hand. My hand, I had the keys, but now the keys are not there. So it is the cognition of something that is the cognition of the absence of something that was there, which is not there now, in a specific place. So for this anupalabdhi, which is the cognition of absence, which is itself a means of knowledge, you have to know what and where. These two things should be there for this to work. It's not absolute absence. And then so these are the 5 means of knowledge available to us. Us means what? The person who is the cognizer. So the cognizer has access to these 5 means of knowledge. And one of them is already 5, okay? So the 5 sense organs plus simple inference, multiple step inference, and upama, and then, what is that? Anupalabdhi. Upama, comparison, similarity, and then anupalabdhi. All these are the 5 means of knowledge. And then what? And then this is what is so important here. This is what one has to see, that the cognizer who deploys these means of knowledge to cognize something and everything, each and everything as this computer, this bed, this room, this house, this country, this world, this is deploying the means of knowledge. Something is known through inference, something is known through direct perception, something else is known through comparison, something else is known as relatively non-existent in a particular place at a particular time. But all those 5 means of knowledge don't work on revealing the truth of the cognizer, as neither the sleeper nor the waker nor the dreamer. The cognizer cannot be cognized, even though the cognizer is able to cognize everything as this. And so therefore, the only way to cognize the cognizer is through the study of the Upanishad. Because what keeps the cognizer from cognizing oneself as the truth of everything, as Om, as Omkara, which is the name given to the holy presence, Ishvara, which is the truth of oneself. So what keeps the cognizer, oneself as the cognizer, from cognizing the truth of the self as Om, as everything, as one with everything, is the inability to drop these means of knowledge and to catch hold of the Shastra as the means of knowledge. That is what comes in the way. So as soon as there is Shraddha, as soon as there is a devotional attitude towards the Upanishad, towards the Mandukya that is unfolding the truth of the cognizer, and thankfully the cognizer need not be known as an object. The cognizer is already self-evident as the subject and has to be understood as not just the cognizer of everything. Because one gets stuck in the epithet of the cognizer. Just like when one gets stuck in the epithet of the waking state, waker. One identifying with the waking state, one is the waker. Identifying with all these accoutrements of cognition, such as arthapatti, anumana, etc., one becomes the cognizer. And when one gets stuck in the status of the cognizer, Here is where the rub is, and this is what has the Upanishad, through this unique methodology, extricates the cognizer from the last frontier of clutching to the identity I am a cognizer of everything. That's why there is a conscious displacement from the status of the cognizer cognized, because both are omkara. Both are om. Cognizer om. Cognizer cognized om. Om swallows up the cognizer. Cognizer is the rice, cognized is the dal, and Omkara swallows up the cognizer and the cognized in one meal. All that is there is Om. And the Mandukya Upanishad says, when you are at home with Om, you have made it. You are at home with Om. Nothing more to do, nowhere to go, nothing to want, nothing to get. It's all done deal. And how the Upanishad is going to do that, we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. If there are any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can type in the chat pod. Two choices are there.
Swamiji, the Om is the same as Brahman? Is that what it is?
Yes, yes. Om is Ishvara, Om is Brahman, Om is the Jagat, Om is you, Om is everything.
Hari Om Swamiji, I have one
Om.
question. When
Yeah.
you said in the dream you are Bhokta,
Yes.
and when you the waking state, is it you are Karta?
Karta and
Karta
Bhokta.
and Bhokta both, right?
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah. You're Karta and
Okay,
Bhokta.
thank you.
Yeah. Because first you cook, then you eat. Nobody cooks just for the sake of cooking, okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you. Very nice.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. All the best. More we'll see in the evening class. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you.
Hari Om
Hari Om.
Swamiji.
Om Om Om.
Swamiji.
Take care.